According to NIH, a health risk is the chance or likelihood that something will harm or otherwise affect your health. Risk doesn't mean that something bad will definitely happen. Now let's look at the components of risk. So toxicity is the amount of a particular substance needed to damage a living organism. All substances can have a certain level of toxicity. Even water or oxygen can be dangerous at certain concentrations or for certain species. For example, sulfur at large doses can be fatal to humans, but is necessary for certain other organisms. A health risk is estimated based in part to the exposure to a contaminant. Without exposure, the risk is negligible. Proximity, frequency, and length of exposure help determine how much, if any, harm will occur. This diagram illustrates environmental exposure pathways that a contaminant might take from its sources to points where people may come into contact with it. Exposure occurs only if the contaminant gets to the person and then inside the body. Without exposure to a contaminant, there's no risk from that chemical. So as you can see from this diagram, contaminants may be from the industry, there's fires, agriculture, there's vehicle transportation. And contaminants can travel through the air or water or soil. That's the transportation. The sources are the red triangles, and then the transport of it are the purple diamonds. And contaminants may travel by air, water, or soil and affect our drinking water, aquatic system, agricultural, natural habitats, air quality, and ultimately human health. Health risk is estimated by summing all of the pathways of chemical exposure and considers where people live, play, and work in relation to the health hazard. Individual exposure pathways are ways people come into contact or are exposed to contaminant. The three primary exposure pathways for humans are breathing. So when a contaminant attaches to a small dust, soil, or vapor particle, we may inhale them. We may consume contaminants that are in our food or drinks, or in the containers in which we store food or drinks. Children may be exposed by sucking their fingers or chewing toys that have been exposed to contaminants through dust or soil. And our skin can absorb some forms of contaminants from direct dermal contact with a contaminant, dust, soil, or vapors. Of the three exposure pathways, breathing, eating, and drinking are the most common. The amount of exposure to contaminant is influenced by several factors, including the distance from the contaminant, in this case, a brownfield site. The further away we are from a contaminant, the less likely we may be exposed to it, or the lower amount of the contaminant we might be exposed to. The weather, such as wind, water currents, flooding, and drought, may affect a contaminant further, may direct a contaminant further away or closer to our location. The amount of time we are around a contaminant, such as using certain chemicals at work every day, may increase our exposure. Although contaminants are not healthy for anyone, exposure may have greater health effects for some individuals. Body weight, metabolism, and the immune system influence absorption of and response to contaminants. For example, individuals who are pregnant, infants and young children, older adults, and people with compromised immune systems may be at greater risk. Depending on the substance, exposure can lead to acute toxicity or chronic toxicity. Acute toxicity can be a minor or short-term exposure with a minor or short-term health effect. However, certain substances can be toxic even in a single exposure. Chronic toxicity is the amount of exposure to a substance over a longer period of time. Exposure could be over weeks or years. Illnesses associated with chronic toxicity may be subtle or slow to appear, making it difficult to identify the causal agent. So we've used the term contaminant several times in this presentation, but let's dive a little bit deeper into what it means and how it relates to brownfields. In the broadest sense, a contaminant is any type of impurity. Some contaminants are manufactured for specific uses, some are byproducts of processing, and some are found in nature. This is EPA's list of contaminants that are often found at brownfield sites. This is not necessarily a specific list at representing contaminants in a brownfield site in your community. The primary, the most frequently found contaminants in brownfields are lead, petroleum, and asbestos. And as you can see from the table, this table lists the contaminant, substance type, and examples of past uses. These are some of the potential health effects associated with exposure to these contaminants. I'm going to review the top 3 contaminants, so the lead, petroleum, and asbestos, and you'll have access to this PowerPoint so you can review other contaminants in more detail later. Because this is a lot of, I realize there's a lot of information all on one slide. So lead is the most commonly found contaminant in brownfields. It is a metal found naturally in the earth. It's used in the production of batteries, ammunition, and metal products. The use of lead in paints, caulking, and pipe soldering have been greatly reduced over the past several decades. The use of lead in residential paint was banned in 1978, and lead was banned in gasoline in 1996. People can be exposed to lead by eating and drinking items that contain lead, drinking water from pipes that were soldered with lead, living in homes with lead-based paints, because when paint breaks down, it can form dust that can enter the body, spending time in areas where the soil is contaminated with lead, and working in a job that uses lead. Health effects lead can affect almost every organ in the body and system. The nervous system can be affected, resulting in decreased learning, memory, and attention. Lead exposure can also cause anemia and damage the kidneys. EPA has classified lead as a probable human carcinogen, and children under 6 years old are most at risk, and exposure can cause serious harm to their growth and development. Most of the information on ways to reduce risk to lead exposure focuses on families and young children in a home environment. Recommendations to reduce exposure include testing your home for lead. And again, if your home was built before 1978, have it inspected by a licensed lead inspector. Keep children away from lead paint and dust, and use wet paper towels to clean up lead dust, especially around windows and play areas and floors. Wash hands and toys often, especially before eating and sleeping. Renovate safely, since home repairs like sanding and scraping paint can make dangerous dust. And keep children and pregnant individuals away from the work area. Make sure workers are trained in lead-safe work practices. And a blood test is available to measure the amount of lead in your blood. So blood tests are commonly used to screen children for lead poisoning. And petroleum, total petroleum hydrocarbon is a term used to describe a broad family of several hundred chemical compounds that originally come from crude oil. Petroleum products include transportation fuels, fuel oils for heating and electricity generation, asphalt, and plastics. People, animals, and plants may be exposed to petroleum through air, water, and land pollution. Contact with petroleum can irritate and burn the skin. Inhaling petroleum distillates can irritate the nose, throat, and lungs, causing wheezing and shortness of breath. Petroleum can affect the nervous system, causing headaches and dizziness, and higher levels can even cause coma or death. Long-term exposure can irritate skin and lungs and affect kidneys and liver. As you know, petroleum distillates are flammable liquids. So if petroleum ignites, poisonous gases are produced, which can be dispersed through the air, spreading the contaminant. Most of the information that we have on ways to reduce risk from petroleum exposure focuses on the workplace. The primary recommendation is the use of personal protective equipment. such as the gloves and covering, eye shields, respiratory protection. There are some recommended medical tests for individuals who have and potential high exposure. These medical tests include liver and kidney function tests, X-rays, lung function tests, and exams of the nervous system. Moving on to asbestos. Asbestos is a fibrous mineral that occurs naturally in the environment. Asbestos has been used in manufactured goods, mostly in building materials such as roofing, shingles, ceiling floor tiles, and paper products. It's also used in insulation and heat-resistant textiles. People working in industries that make or use asbestos products or mine asbestos may be exposed to high levels. Asbestos fibers may be released in the air when asbestos-containing materials are disturbed during production, demolition, building, and remodeling. Drinking water may contain asbestos from natural sources or from asbestos-containing cement pipes. Asbestos mainly affects the lungs and is often found in workers exposed to asbestos. And breathing asbestos may increase the risk of lung cancer and mesothelioma. Materials containing asbestos that are not disturbed in general do not pose a health risk. If you suspect that you may be exposed to asbestos, you may contact your state or local health department or a regional EPA office to find out how to test your home or workplace and how to locate a company that is trained to remove or contain the fibers. Low levels of asbestos fibers may be measured in urine, feces, mucus, or lung washings. Higher levels of asbestos fibers may confirm exposure, but cannot determine whether you will experience any health effects. Chest X-rays are the best screening tool to identify lung changes resulting from asbestos exposure. You may be wondering where you can find more detailed information on specific contaminants. The Occupational Health and Safety Administration, or OSHA, requires manufacturers to provide information about potential hazards or safety issues when using their products. The Hazard Communication Safety Data Sheets are reviewed and regulated by OSHA for materials used in the workplace. They are standard comprehensive documents that provide details about chemical properties, limits of exposure, and safe handling for manufactured compounds and individual elements. OSHA has a vast library of safety data sheets, which can be found online or can be requested from manufacturers. So this slide shows the information that can be found on a safety data sheet. And then I just listed sections 1 through 6. It's exactly what's on these data sheets, but I just listed it here just to make it easier to read, especially on the slide. And then there's the link here at the bottom of the slide, and that can take you to the OSHA website that has their publications where you can do a search of different chemicals that you're interested in. And similar to OSHA, EPA has a website, IRIS, an integrated risk information system that is a searchable online database. And you can search by chemical name or keyword to find risk information for specific chemicals. And again, there's the web link there is on the slide. This example shows tetraethyl lead, which was a petroleum component in gasoline. A search for this chemical brings you to this screen. So this is just an example of what a screen would look like on IRIS. And this screen shows a portion of the printable PDF document about tetraethyl lead. And so each document provides details on chronic health hazard assessments for non-carcinogenic effects, carcinogenicity assessment for lifetime exposure, bibliography, and history. Now, there are several different approaches to measure or estimate possible human exposure to contaminants. Ambient concentrations measure how much of a contaminant is in the environment. So this approach focuses on air, water, food, or soil, and can be estimated using models or samples. It does not measure how much of the contaminant humans come into contact with. Exposure modeling estimates exposure using information on environmental contaminant concentrations and information about human activities and locations. For example, the level of toxicity of a pesticide may be combined with the amount of time a person works with that chemical or how frequently people exercise outdoors where the pesticide has been applied. Personal monitoring is when an individual wears a monitoring device during normal day-to-day activities. It is most commonly used in the workplace and can measure inhalation, ingestion, and dermal exposure. Biomonitoring measures how much of a contaminant or metabolite is in the body. Blood and urine are most commonly used to identify biomarkers. Tests are conducted by a professional laboratory, so individuals need to see a health professional to determine symptoms and order tests. Over the last several years, you've probably heard of the term PPE and know that it refers to personal protective equipment that is often used in medical settings to reduce the spread of contagious diseases. Similarly, you may want to consider some personal protective equipment if you plan to visit a brownfield site. PPE is equipment worn to minimize exposure to hazards that may cause serious injury, infection, or illness. Hazards may include physical, electrical, heat, chemicals, biohazards, and airborne particulate matter. Training may be needed to choose and wear the proper protection. For example, masks need to fit a certain way, and there is a method and specific order in which PPE is to be removed and disposed of. Sometimes, you've even seen, you probably noticed that, men who have facial hair, sometimes the masks don't fit tightly, or those of us who wear glasses, they fog up. So there's certain ways to try to minimize that. And PPE needs to fit properly, which can make a difference between being safely covered or dangerously exposed. Here are a few recommendations if you plan to visit a brownfield site. So avoid contact with any potential contaminant. If you do not wear shoe coverings at the site, remove your shoes before going inside your home or office to minimize tracked-in residue or floors. Similarly, avoid bringing personal items such as handbags and backpacks to the brownfield, which may be exposed to potential contaminants. Avoid visiting a brownfield site on a windy day to reduce airborne exposure, or wear a mask during your visit. Depending upon the protocol for a given brownfield, you'll want to know if PPE will be provided at the site and where you should deposit it after its use. So this is just a list of some resources. Many of these have been noted in the PowerPoint itself, but here they are again, and I think there might be a few additional ones in there as well. So that concludes the presentation, and I just want to remind you that again that the presentation will be on the TAB website along with the PowerPoint.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourselves and just ask your question, or feel free to put your question in the chat. As Sarah mentioned, all the materials will be available on our website. Probably later in the day, we'll upload them on the website.
Yeah, I'll send you the updated, because I've made a few minor edits to it since the previous one that I sent you. So I'll send you an updated version of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
With that, see any questions coming in?
yeah, I don't see any. So. Okay, well,
Thank you all for attending our webinar, and thank you, Sarah, for the wonderful presentation. I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
all righty. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
And if
Bye-bye.
any questions come up later, feel free to reach out to our team, and we'll make sure that we will connect you with our public health expert here, Sarah. So if you have any related questions, just send us an email.
Great. All right. Thank you. Take care.
With his keen eye for detail, Zach enjoys his creative side with more than just baking. Maybe you one day. I'm just going to try to do so. Never mind. I never thought I'd say that. It's the sweet nothing. When she's not playing with her keeps up with social media trends with the help of her brother Kate. Well, I have to one. He's TikTok.